Yeah.
So this is like pre-B42. This is like really early on.
Yeah, but think
Okay.
of how far you've come without those people.
Oh yeah, for real. Like, I've come a long way, but I've come to realize that part of being an entertainer is your own suffering. Which is why I play games even when I don't want to play them.
But the whole premise of this channel is to, reach out to other people.
Oh yeah, like the whole premise of the community is just to be the voice of support that I didn't get as a creator, because you got to remember that like I've only been doing this for 6 years, and I'm gonna pause this a sec because I want to be able to concentrate on what I'm trying to say here. But my mother's death was a monumental turning point in my life, right? Because I've been doing a little bit of YouTube. I've been doing like a little bit of art, but I'd never really taken it seriously, right? I had always kind of just given up on that. And like, I'm just gonna move to the good afternoon internet scene for a moment, because like we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk, or I might just move to intermission. I'm just gonna move to intermission because like I just wanna like like I do want to say that like my mother's death, although sad, was a turning point in almost my entire career. Like I nearly quit college. I nearly didn't get the grades I wanted. I nearly just dropped out of it, off the face of the earth, and decided that nothing was worth it anymore.
Completely understandable.
But there is one thought. There is one single thought that kept me going. And that's that if my mother was still around, she wouldn't have wanted me to just give up like that. Now, needless to say, I had ideas for a community like this for a long time on paper, but I couldn't figure out how I could go around it. And like, the thing is my college knew the situation, and I ended up leaving that with a merit overall, which is equivalent to like 4 B's and like an A, like just above an A, which,
and that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, which is a good thing. And they were like, okay, because like based on like one of them sent me a slide, like, okay, based on the progress of the previous one, what grade do you honestly think you would have gotten? Because I got an A like the first year as well, and I was like, I think I would have gotten an A again. And they were like, okay, and they just kind of like, they didn't even grade, because there was nothing to grade, because like I wasn't able to submit my work because of the funeral and because of everything that had happened. And then I took like a large hiatus from college as well because I was grieving. But I eventually went back in, sat down with the tutors, and they were like, okay, based on what you have got, like, we can grade what you have got and then pretend like you finished it. So based on what you have and what we know of your work previously, we can mock up something. So I'm very, very thankful that I got the grades I got. And like, it was around this point, like, I had ideas, because I had communities all over. I had like the Minecraft servers, I had Starbound servers, I had my art stuff, I had my YouTube, I had a bunch of things. I even at one point had something called Pivot Dude's Prints, which was going to be, I can't even remember what that was. I've gone through several things. But I originally on paper, I just wanted somewhere where I could kind of bring, because I found that when I was working very hard on one community, another was getting neglected. I wanted to find a way to kind of bring that all into one place, right?
And that's where Zero comes in.
Not quite.
Kind
Not
of.
quite. Kind of. It's what Zero became, but it's not what Zero was. Zero
Oh no,
is...
I remember what you originally had it as.
Yeah, okay. So, bit of a history lesson here is Project Zero's been through 3 revisions. The first was Omega Entertainment, the second was Final Chance Entertainment, and Project Zero Entertainment was the last and current. And with Omega, I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of professional decisions too early. I got a lot of people kind of who felt forced into being involved, felt obligated to be involved, and then felt like they deserved something out of it. And I was running Omega with a guy called Nicholas. I'm not going to use his full name because even though he was an absolute dickwad in the end, I feel like he still deserves a small iota of privacy. But I ran it alongside Nicholas as we co-owned Omega together. And then came the time I had to go to university, right? And I knew that I wouldn't be able to manage Omega full time. So I said to Nick, temporarily, I'm going to leave it with you to put out content, to manage the community as the other owner of Omega, which I don't think was too much to ask, right?
Right. Kind of like, if you were to ask me, hey, can you, just post a video.
And as much as as much as I trust everyone in Zero, this particular moment is what made me realize that owning a community is a bad idea. Which is why I say it's not my community, it's our community. It's why it's not my channel, it's our channel. Why everything we do, we either do together or I'm just doing alone. But I never claim Zero to be mine. I help run it with my friends, but I don't own it. And there is a very big difference between ownership and just running it. Do you see where I'm coming from here?
Yeah.
Because what followed with Omega is one of the worst decisions I made. Because you got to remember, I trusted Nicholas to run this while I was away. While I was working on my first year of uni.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that university is like what college is there.
Of course.
And what college is here is what like your year 11 status is. So that's like senior year.
So basically it's
like senior
it's kind of
year.
like mid-senior year.
Yeah, basically. So I ended up leaving like my equivalent of senior year with 4 B's and an A, which I think is pretty damn good. I
dropped out.
Yeah. I ended up like founding Omega with Nicholas, went off to uni, gave it to him to run, and then he basically neglected the entire network. He never put up. He basically put ideas in people's head that they deserved payment. And then because I was still technically the person that made all the decisions, everyone was then coming to me with decisions that he'd made on behalf of us both. And it royally fucked up everything to a point I couldn't even work on my project. I was then splitting time between Omega and uni. And still trying to find the time to do everything. Like, I was stretching myself so thin that
kind
when
of like how Jack was for a little bit.
Yeah, I was stretching myself so thin, right, that I ended up, like, having to, like, after lectures ended, like, had finished for the year, going in every day, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. without stopping, without bathroom breaks, without eating. I just worked on my project when I could. And it was still not enough to get it finished in time for submission. I ended up not submitting and being withdrawn from the course completely because I couldn't handle the workload on top of having to then fix what Nicholas broke. Right, so that's the rise and fall of Omega, which was the first revision of what Project Zero is now. Now, while I was running Omega, I had something that I called the featured creator. And these were artists that I felt their work was really good, but they didn't have the following to back it up, and that felt like they were underappreciated. So...
Oh, kind of like how Grace would do, like during the end of his video.
Yeah, so I would share their links, I'd share one of their works and say, hey, this artist is really good, you should go check them out. And that was like the very first revision of like what Zero is now. And like I did that alongside making YouTube content. And so Omega Falls, I end up getting depressed because like obviously I can't go back to uni, I can't go back and do the course that I enjoyed. I've lost my entire YouTube thing. Everyone is a bit iffy around me. Like Phelan was, Nicholas was, even Dog was. Dog was there in the beginning as well, if you didn't know.
I figured like at least he was in the beginning.
Yeah. And anyway, so in comes Final Chance. Nicholas messages me, he says, I think what we need to do, well, I think I said to him that we need to rebrand, we need to move away from what was and rebuild from the ashes of Omega. And he came up with the name Final Chance because it was our last chance to fix what we broke. And I ended up doing practically everything. There was a bunch of footage that was recorded in my studio space back when I lived with my dad. I had a studio space with a green screen backdrop, the works. We'd set up a room specifically to record for YouTube. And I had my friends come on as guests, so I had guest chairs. I had so much backed up footage ready to go. But there was no communication between me and Nicholas. And of course, then he disappeared off the face of the earth out of nowhere and didn't tell anyone. He was somewhat mad at me. I still don't know what I did, by the way. And I feel like if anyone deserved to be salty, it was me because of what he did to Omega. And eventually, of course, as you know, I fell out with John, I fell out with Katie, and I only really see two people, I only really see and speak to like two people that I know IRL from back then. Now, you know how that went already.
Yeah.
And it was around like the Final Chance entertainment thing that I started an art foundation year at college. This is pre-uni, I think. Oh yeah, I was still running Omega at that point, but like I did an art foundation to get better with doing physical art, with doing digital art, and unfortunately I failed that year. My animation wasn't up to par, unfortunately. But let's not talk about that. The main point is that everything was kickstarted by my mother. That's Twitch, that's YouTube, that's me drawing. It's everything. It's everything that I've ever done creatively has been sparked by that one monumental point in time. So I decided after about 6 to 8 months of recording and not putting anything out to just delete the footage. I was watching back over it and I was like, this just brings back bad memories. I don't like this anymore. And I got rid of it. And if history tells us anything, it's around this point the COPA Act starts happening, pre-roll ads start happening on YouTube, and creative freedom as we know it ceases to be on YouTube. A place
That's why people do it here.
Exactly. I'm gonna get to that. Just hang in there. We're nearly at the present. Is creative freedom ceases to be. A platform whose original tagline was broadcast yourself. Nothing says creative freedom like that. That tagline. Don't know if you remember in good old 2005, YouTube
I actually remember that YouTube.
Yeah, had broadcast yourself under the logo. That was their slogan. And of
I remember
course,
back when it was like barely out of the mother's belly.
oh god, oh. Anyway, YouTube has always succumbed to being neglected by its own programmers. Let's just say that things would get worse before they get better, and then when they get better, YouTube would find a way to make them worse again. May that be making it look pretty in exchange for functionality, so there was a ton of bugs on the platform, or may it be removing the private messaging system, or maybe even removing the friend requests. Yes, those were two things that
They actually
existed.
removed one thing that was recent. They removed a swipe feature.
Yeah. Right.
It was on the phones.
Now, one thing, while we're talking about the history of YouTube, do you remember the Reply Girls?
I want to say no.
Now, the Reply Girls were a big problem.
Were they basically bots?
No. Now, what the Reply Girls were, and I'm going to touch on this very briefly, because I want to move to the point. I just want to talk about how YouTube has changed. Let's just say, do you remember video responses? Do you remember?
You mean video replies?
Yes, video responses were a way to leave a video response to a creator responding to their content or reacting to their content, and then that creator could go watch that, and it would be at the bottom of the video. You'd have video responses.
Oh, it's kind of like an audition thing that some people would do.
Not necessarily. It was people reacting.
Because that's how I remember it.
It's like say someone's talking, having an open discussion on YouTube, right? And they'd leave that discussion open and say, leave your video responses down below and we'll discuss this. And there would be these back and forth between creators using video responses. That's what it was designed for. But I'm going to tell you the story about how the Reply Girls basically single-handedly became the reason why this feature got removed from YouTube. Now, what the Reply Girls were essentially a bunch of women in very, very skimpy clothing, very short t-shirts, tank tops, you name it, with their tits hanging out, talking absolute nonsense, responding to a video. Now, I bet you wonder, couldn't you just report and flag all those videos, right? Wrong. Because every single time one Reply Girl would get banned, 5 more would show up in its place. It was, in a sense, a cancer. And because of the nature of the video, it fucked with the algorithm. It fucked with the way that videos get recommended to people. It fucked with the entire system. Because then instead of related videos to what you're watching, you just end up with your recommended feed on the side just being filled with Reply Girl videos. They single-handedly deconstructed and destroyed the entire algorithm just by existing.
Damn.
Like I said, it was a plague. You'd get rid of one, 5 more would pop up. And when five accounts get taken down, that's 25 new accounts popping up doing the same thing.
So it's like a Hydra.
Essentially, it was like a Hydra. You chop off one head, 2 more would spawn. You chop off those 2, 4 more. Etc., etc.
It's an endless cycle.
The only way that we were able to purge the plague of the Reply Girls was to remove the entire video response feature from YouTube. They single-handedly became the reason why we can't do video responses anymore. And of course, I understand YouTube having to make tough decisions, but geez, like, moderate your platform better. There is so much they could have done, like if you remember a time before age verification on YouTube was a thing.
Yeah, I do.
Like, this is back before then. You could age lock your videos and prevent people from being able to, like, comment. You'd be able to turn off comments. You couldn't do any of that. You didn't have the same creative tools that we do now. So, like, there is so much that could have been put in place to protect, for creators to be able to protect themselves against this, rather than removing an entire feature just to nip it in the bud, per se. But anyway, like, enough of me talking about what YouTube did wrong. Let's talk about how that affected me. Because that's the point I'm trying to make here. As I went off on a bit of a tangent there. But going back to my original point, I started to realize that YouTube wasn't the kind of place I wanted to put out content anymore. Because I couldn't swear on YouTube without getting demonetized, which is part of my personality and part of my vocabulary. That's never going to change. I'm someone who's a strong advocate for not censoring themselves for other people. Like, I don't do snowflakes. If you if what I say offends you, just go fuck yourself, basically. I don't give a fuck.
That's my mentality as well.
I don't give a fuck. I don't filter. I do not censor myself. You do not get to tell me what I can and can't say, where I can say it, when I can say it, who I can say it to. My only limits are things like racism, sexism, ableism, stuff like that. So no ists, isms, or phobias. Nothing that you wouldn't want your grandma to hear you say. And trust me, I know a lot of grandmas that F and blind like a sailor, trust me. But they would never say the N-word in a million years.
True.
But let's get to the point. Like I said, I realized that my creative freedom was at risk. And I also realized around this point that Twitch didn't have this issue. And I recently found a love for streaming, but I didn't really put the same amount of time and effort into it. And after the fall of Omega and Final Chance, I had a lot riding on this last attempt. Right? This was either going to be like a do or die moment for me. Because I was depressed, I was creatively blocked, I'd been through some shit that had really depressed me. I'd lost friends over this. I'd lost my entire YouTube empire over this. I'd lost a partner in content creation over this, Nicholas. And that hurt. Like, it gets to you over time. And I wasn't sure about going into this again. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put myself through the same thing. So I decided, if I was going to do this, if this was going to work, promises would need to be made. Things would have to be put in place so I don't make the same mistakes and make the wrong calls that I made.
Kind of like fail-safes?
Not necessarily fail-safes, more like learning from my mistakes and vowing not to make them again. And as such, I basically put out a really long post on the Facebook page announcing Project Zero. And I'm going to read that out to you real quick. I'm going to pull that up.
That's got to be what? Back in 2017?
Well, I'll tell you because it will have a date on it. Alright.
Also, think of it like this: if you never made Zero, you would have never met me.
Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. When you think about it, I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for Desi. And I wouldn't know Desi if it wasn't for some other communities that had nothing to do with what I'm doing now.
Right.
Desi introduced me to Candy. I met you through Candy's community. So if anyone's to thank for me meeting you, it's technically Desi. In the grand scheme of things. Okay, so this... Oh, shit. This was...
What is the year?
This was... Okay, this was in 2019. But it was the day after the anniversary of my mum's death that I posted this. Alright. So, I basically created a post that says, after years of trying to make this work, I have come to the decision that this network requires a fresh start. All previous team members will have their member status revoked. This can be appealed if you wish to remain. Over the coming months, we will be rebranded a third and final time. I will be turning the current channel into an archive for our old videos and creating a whole new channel to replace it. Which I did. And then I said to my team, I thank you for the support over the years. There was a time we were operating as one, we were putting out content and having fun doing it, but after a lot of arguing on the inside, I feel like we lost what made Omega and Final Chance special, just having fun. I let the growth of Omega go to my head and made too many big decisions too quickly without considering the opinions of the rest of the team. In retrospect, I realized that this was how unprofessional this was. And I plan on bringing the network back to its roots and doing this for fun and not for popularity or profit. To our fans, I apologize for the inactivity and broken promises and the lack of proper public announcements and explanations. I plan on completely reworking the way things are done, work towards making this network great again. Sorry for the Trump reference. Anywho, stay tuned for big changes as we send into new futures Project Zero Entertainment. Thank you on behalf of everyone's patience and support, Dan. So I made the promise that if we were going to do this and the old people were to come on board, that several changes would be made. One, everything would be their choice. They can come, they can go at their own leisure. Two, if when it came down to making money, I wouldn't do this for the money. I wouldn't do this for the follows. I wouldn't do it for the popularity. Everything would remain like we're just friends having fun, which was always the origin. And thirdly, I had to promise that things would stay that way. And anyone who felt that things had changed had a free pass to walk out of my life forever. They could block me, they could move on with their lives, no questions asked. And that would be that. If those promises were broken. This works if and only if these promises are made. It's why I've been so iffy on whether or not I should put out merch. It's why I'm so iffy on doing this for the right reasons.
Right.
And I have and always will say that the moment this becomes about money or popularity, I stop doing it. I close down the channel, I delete the Discord, and that's that.
And if that does ever happen, I've had a fun ride.
Yeah. I don't want this to end. I want to keep doing this for the right reasons.
Me either, because this is fun. Like, it keeps me going. Like,
Yeah.
It helps wake me up. It helps me talk to friends.
Yeah. And I feel exactly the same. I don't want this to end, but I also don't want it to be at the expense of the thoughts and feelings of everyone else. I don't want it to be at the expense of feeling like people had been hard done by, or that things were going in the same direction that Omega or Final Chance did. So I will always have very strong stance on where the money that tips go, the money that bits go, the money that subs go. Will always go back into the channel to make the experience better for the viewers. It will never be used for anything other than the channel. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it for the community. I'm doing it for fellow creators. I'm doing it for the people that stop by. I appreciate everybody. And I don't want that to change. But if it does change, just like Unis Arnis, it would go poof in a matter of speaking. Just all I'd have to do is say the word.
Instead of that, and unlike Unis Arnis, it won't come back.
Yeah, it will be gone forever.
And I think my feelings on that would be, it would be very heartbreaking for me, because this is something I've come to know and love and enjoy.
Yeah, and like, I feel exactly the same way. I don't want this to end. You've got to remember that I've built a community, a family around this. Project Zero has been single-handedly the most successful community I've ever built. To have people talk and be active in my Discord, to want to come and record with and stream with me, to have people ask, hey, when are we doing this so-and-so episode next? Hey, do you want to do an artsy-fartsy with me? Hey, do you want to do a good afternoon internet with me? I love that. I love that people are keen to do this over something that I made. Nothing tells me that I'm doing my job right than that. It would break my heart. It would like be seeing a loved one die in front of me. And I don't want that. But when I said Zero was the last do or die, I meant it. The minute it goes the same direction as the other two rebrands, that's it. Stum, gone. Forever. And I won't be making any other content. That's not to say that I'd stop talking with the friends I made along the way, by any means. I'd still talk
and you might
game
pop
with you.
into the...
Yeah, and I'd still enter people's streams and talk with them, and maybe even, like, come onto their streams and game with them and stuff like that. Like, that wouldn't stop. But the streaming would. The art would. Everything would stop.
And to understand, I started my YouTube channel at 15.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Yeah. But
I just did it for the fun of it, just recording videos, putting them out.
Exactly.
I didn't care if I was going to get in trouble or not.
Exactly, and that's the way that I feel about this. It's why that we are always on that fine line of the TOS. But I'm one of those people that believe in creative freedom, but not at the expense of the thoughts and feelings of those that get involved.
Right.
It's why I always try and look back on Omega and Final Chance and try to not be like that. But
I just realized my name on Discord has a little crown.
Oh yeah, that's because you're the host of the group.
Oh, I thought that was because I put it in.
No.
I'm a little high. I'm a little trigger high still.
That's okay. But anyway, that's the rise and fall of my communities and how everything came to be. But none of that, and I mean none of that, would have happened if it wasn't for my mother's death. I decided I didn't want to sit around and mope, and I wanted to do something with my life. And that something was me creating content. That was me drawing. That was me putting out YouTube content, doing Twitch streams. It's why I'm always looking for the next best, thing to create. I don't want to stick with just one thing. I want to do many things. I want to really push this platform to its limit, because that's just the kind of person I am. And if I have to stop doing this because things have gone in the direction that the other ones did, then it's going to kill me inside. Because I'm not going to get to do the things that I enjoy the most. It would be an incredibly large shot to my mother's legacy if I were to just quit. You know? And
I think I got into making YouTube for the wrong reason, because back then my mind was like, oh, I want to get famous. I want to, make some money on this. And now I'm at the same mentality as you. I'm doing this for the fucking fun of it.
But the thing is, you were probably doing it on your own. You probably didn't have other people to consider.
Right. And again,
I
started
did.
This with people.
Yeah, but I had other people to consider. And consider them, I did not. The name may have been Team Omega, but a team is the last thing we acted like. But everything that happened with Nicholas made me realize that I don't own Project Zero. Nobody does. I run it with my friends, but nobody owns it. There is no owner, there is no co-owner. If you look in the Discord, there are admins, but I am under admins. I am not under owner. Because I am equal to everyone else.
Right.
Everyone who is an admin has the same amount of power as I do. I am not above nor below anybody. But now that I've discussed that and we've talked about that, I've gone off on a tangent enough. Shall we get back to Shovel Knight and trying to beat this? Now I'm in a better mood. I just wanted to just stop and talk for a while and get my mind off of how frustrated I was.